Okay, today's classroom activities for the MSTEP, and the topic is monuments and landmarks. And you all have a packet. Make sure your name is on the packet and your hour. And first off, we're going to go to our first slide. Learning goal. Alyssa, will you read the learning goal today?
The purpose that monuments and landmarks serve, the effects that monuments and landmarks have on communities.
Okay, so we're going to be overseeing these two goals, the purpose that monuments and landmarks serve and the effects that they have on communities. 4 key vocabulary terms. Gardy, read the first vocabulary term.
Monument, a statue or other structure built in remembrance of a person or event.
Okay, and Cameron, the second one.
Landmark, an object or a feature of a landscape that is easily recognized and that has some significance.
And for collaboration, Victor.
Collaboration, the act of working together to achieve a goal.
And funding, Savannah.
Money provided especially by an organization or government for a particular purpose.
Okay, we do not need to memorize these key vocabulary terms. We just need to be aware of them and have a base knowledge of them. But looking at those first two today, the monument and landmark, those are going to be the most essential ones to know. And just seeing those today, did anyone notice anything that stood out as a difference between the two? A landmark versus a monument? Okay, Abby?
Monument is something in remembrance of a person or a place that took place in history, and landmark is like something in like a community that you easily recognize and has some significance.
Okay. Braylon as well?
Well, like an example, I don't know, like a landmark is like the Grand Canyon, and a monument is like the White House.
Okay, so, or even like the Lincoln Memorial?
Yeah.
Okay.
A monument is man-made, so it's built.
Okay, a monument is built by man, right? A structure.
Is just natural.
Naturally occurring. Good. Okay, very good. I'm glad we could point those out. And moving on, class discussion for today. We will prepare for the monuments and landmarks performance tasks that you're taking tomorrow in the computer labs. Remember, groups A, C will be going in the morning, and then group B in the afternoon for that. And this is to prepare you for that. First, a monument is a structure built in remembrance of a person or event that we just said. The monuments we will look at today memorialize important people or events in history. To memorialize is to do or create something that causes people to remember a person or event. Now, our focus question of the hour, can you think of an example of a famous monument? Okay, anyone want to share one? Either you've maybe visited yourself, seen it in person, or maybe you've just seen something about it on the History Channel.
Washington Monument,
The Washington Monument, good.
Lincoln Memorial,
Lincoln Memorial,
World War II memorial.
the World War II Memorial.
I'm not sure what it's called, but it's a hand and it's in Miami, Florida.
The Holocaust Memorial, okay, good one.
the Vietnam Wall,
The Vietnam Wall. Okay, anybody else?
the Twin Towers,
The Twin Towers. And I was also thinking about your one research project this year.
Iwo Jima,
Yep, Battle of Iwo Jima. They have a memorial for that, do they not? Okay. Anybody else?
it's the where the Twin Towers once stood, like the pools of water.
Okay. Ground Zero, where that was. Okay. Moving on. Monuments and landmarks. Sometimes a memorial is placed as a landmark, an object that's easily recognized to identify the location where the important event has happened. However, not all landmarks are created. Some are just simply land features. And I heard you mention this as an example, such as the Grand Canyon is a land feature. As we look at different landmarks and monuments today, think about why each one might have been built what you already know about it, and any reactions or emotional responses that you might have to it. So we're going to be exploring three to start with. Our first one, and it's in your packet, it's the very first page of your packet this morning. I want you to look at this one, the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C. And there will be three focus questions that we're answering today in the right-hand margin in this box, just alongside the image. Now there's a picture description. Natalie, will you read the picture description of this?
This statue is part of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. It shows King standing with his arms crossed as he gazes off into the distance. An inscription on the side of the statue reads, "I was a drum major for justice, peace, and righteousness."
Okay, so looking at this, you have the visual, you have the description. Now you're going to be giving, you can just give me 3 bullets, or you can number your responses 1, 2, 3. But I want you to react to these 3 focus questions in the box provided on your packet. So in that blank space, right alongside the image, the first thing I want you to answer here is, what do you know about this monument or about its subject? So like, what do you already know about maybe Martin Luther King? Perhaps, well, why did they pick that location for the statue of him? What does he represent or symbolize? So you're going to share that for your first one. The second thing is, why do you think they constructed this memorial of him? Why? Why did they do it in the first place? And then the third is your emotional response, or what do you think that people may be thinking when they see this? How do people respond to this memorial when they visit Washington, D.C. and they see that? So it's a 3-part question. 1, what do you already know about it? 2, why do you think they built it? And 3, what emotional responses do you think that the general public has to it? So go ahead right now at your seats and respond. Give me a written response to each one of these. So you should have 3 answers in your box. Does anyone have a question about it, what you're doing right now? Any one of the 3 questions? Okay, Brendan? That's fine. You want to put MLK? I don't know. I hope that's still filming.
It looks like it, that's what it was doing.
Is it still filming? Okay. As long as it's still filming. It said it was an alarm. It was an alarm on there. It's Mrs. Coffin's iPad. Well, we know that Mrs. Coffins likes country music, right?
Yeah.
Okay, even though we start discussing some of the responses in class right now, because I want to do a whole class share, you can still continue to write. So whatever you're thinking, even as we're discussing and you want to still add to your answer, that's okay. Because I see some of you are finished and some of you are not quite. So keep writing if you want to, that's fine. For this first one, what did some of you say as your prior knowledge or your background knowledge of what you know about Martin Luther King Jr., possibly about this structure, why it was built? What do you know?
Well, I said it was built in DC because that's where he gave his I Have a Dream speech, and
Right.
his big walk took place by the Washington Memorial.
Okay, very good. So he gave his famous speech, I Have a Dream, there in Washington, D.C. Seems like an appropriate location for this. Anything else that you wrote there as your background knowledge of Martin Luther King Jr.? Anything you know? What did he serve to represent? What was his purpose or his mission? Okay, Cameron?
Justice, peace, and peace.
Justice, peace, and righteousness. Okay, as inscribed on the side of it, because it says, I was a drum major for justice, peace, and righteousness. Okay, what else? What did he do in his lifetime? What is he known for?
Fighting for equality.
Fighting for equality, equal rights, no matter what your race or color or background. Okay, one of the things that I want you to know about that this monument was of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was a leader of the African American Civil Rights Movement. Okay, that's what it's called, the Civil Rights Movement. The main statue, which measures 30 feet high, shows King looking toward the horizon. Parts of the monument include quotations from King's sermons and speeches. Okay, why do you think they built it? Dakota, why?
Well, to like just sort of have everyone remember of like what he was like a big part of like the equal rights and all that.
Okay. For a remembrance, to remember and honor him? Okay.
Kind of like a couple of what I was trying to say, because like it's a special time in history.
So yeah.
Right, a very significant time in history when we had the Civil Rights Movement. Do you know exactly when that was occurring in history? No?
Like, to symbolize what he did to help people and how he gave his life to help the African American race.
Yeah, he actually gave his life in that movement, didn't he? Okay. He actually conducted protests of that movement in a very peaceful manner, but unfortunately was killed. So that's sort of an irony to this. He was a peaceful man, but yet was murdered. And he served to help so many people. Okay, so the purpose of this construction, yes, Dakota, you were right. It was built in his honor of King's accomplishments for achieving equal rights for all citizens, regardless of race or color. The statue also provides a reminder of the importance of the King's goals and the necessity of his work being continued on, even today. Okay, what are some possible emotional responses that people could have when they see it? Natalie?
I think people would be very respectful towards this monument.
Respectful? Okay, to the monument and to the man behind it?
They might cry because he fought for equality and gave everybody rights, no matter who you were.
Okay, some people could have a very emotional response to it, maybe cry. Kirsten?
I think the inscription on the side of it would be very noticeable because, like, the first thing you notice is the words drum major, and in a band, a drum major is a leader. So I pretty much reread it as I'm the leader for justice, peace, and righteousness.
I did too, and if you know anything about the background of a band, you're part of a band or you know about a band, you know a drum major, like you said, is a leader, and he represented leadership. He was a positive leader, he brought about positive changes, but was a peaceful man in the way that he did it. Okay, we're going to move on to our next picture. So go on to your next picture in your packet. The Paul Revere statue is located in Boston, Massachusetts. And I would like Kirsten to read that picture description.
This is the Paul Revere statue located in a park in Boston. The statue shows Revere riding on his horse, his right arm outstretched as he makes his historic ride.
Okay, so just based off the clues given in this description, I want you to once again give me a three-part answer in the box at the right-hand side of the image. So you're gonna do 3 bullets, or you can do a 1, 2, 3, but I need you to react to this. And the first thing I want you to do is tell me what you already know. What do you already know about Paul Revere? Who was he? What was he doing? What did he represent? Maybe in history, what was he a part of in our American history? So I want you to be thinking about that as you respond for the first question. So what you already know about this statue and this man in the statue, Paul Revere. And the second part is, why do you think they constructed this statue in his memory? Why was it built? And also note the location is in Boston, Massachusetts. That's important to note. And then the third thing, what reaction do you think people have to it? Okay, it's a very famous statue there. And when people visit it or see it, how do you think they react or respond to it? So the first question is, what do you already know about the background of this, about this man and the history of it? The second one is, why do you think they built it? Okay, why do you think they built it? And the third question is, what emotional reactions do you think people have to this? And you can even capture it in a word or two, what you think people feel. Just give me an emotional type word. Okay, for the first question, Anna, I'd be curious to know today what you wrote. What do you already know about Paul Revere and the background of this?
They built this statue in Boston because that's where he made his famous ride.
Okay, good answer. That's where he made the famous ride, correct? Yes, and anything else? Do you know in history what war was occurring? No? Okay, I kind of put you on the spot. I apologize. Okay, Abby?
Revolutionary War.
Okay, the American Revolutionary War. Okay, it was, in fact.
Who's the person that warned that the British were coming?
Okay, he warned the Americans that the British were coming. He was a messenger, correct? Okay, anybody else want to add to their background knowledge of this? I have some history buffs in here that might have more knowledge.
He actually took part in the war a lot more than just like the main story that everybody knows. He worked with the nurses that were there.
Okay.
He delivered supplies for nursing and he delivered food.
So he also was a delivery man of supplies for the medical team and the nurses in the war. So he played an integral role more than just that one message that most people know, that main story. Some background on it is a monument of Paul Revere, a patriot of the American Revolution. In 1775, Revere rode his horse from Boston to Lexington, Massachusetts, which was a distance of about 11 miles, to warn his countrymen that the British Army was fast approaching. The statue shows Revere in the midst of his famous ride. Today is one of the most recognized landmarks in Boston. Okay, now I want to know, why do you think they built it? Okay, Riley, why would they build that?
They maybe wanted people to remember him. That's the only thing I saw.
Want people to remember the part he played in American history and how he was important?
Well, like, they want everyone to know how big of a part he was in the Revolutionary War and like what he did back then.
And what was the outcome of the American Revolutionary War? Thank you. Our freedom, that we gained our freedom from the mother country.
The people who built this one is to like remember how we gained our freedom from him riding his horse from Boston to Lexington. So because we got our freedom from that, has to save many lives from it and our freedom.
Yes, he helped us gain our freedom. He saved many lives. He played a major part.
I think that the landmark is more about, isn't all about recognizing just him. I think it's recognizing that battle on its own and what war it was a part of, not just him himself.
Okay, he was a key player, but there were many players. And then he just happens to be the icon or the iconic figure that people recognize, okay, to represent that. Okay, what about the emotional responses that you gave? What were some emotional responses that you gave for this? Obviously, the reason the statue was built was to honor his role in the American Revolution, which gained America its independence from Great Britain. It stands as a symbol of freedom, courage, and strength, but what emotional responses? Kirsten?
I think it would make people more interested on its history and what it was a part of.
Okay. People are curious about their American history and what it was part of.
I thought maybe that would people more thankful to be here. I guess.
Okay. To be thankful, grateful to be part of this country and what it represents and its freedoms.
I think they probably feel like proud of his accomplishment for what he for like warning them about the British invasion.
Feelings of pride. That's a really good one. Feelings of pride associated with this man and what he represented. What is that emotion that Americans have when they say the Pledge of Allegiance or they honor a vet? Or what is that?
They're proud.
They're proud, and then they're also very loyal to your country. You are grateful, and what's another word I'm thinking, a human emotion that you have for your country? Respectful and honor. Okay, when we address the flag. Patriotism, yeah, to be patriotic. All right. Let's take a look at this very next one. The third one in a series here on this first half. Let's take a look at this image. It's Mount St. Helens National Volcanic Monument, and it's located in Castle Rock, Washington, but that's Washington State, not Washington, D.C., not the nation's capital, but it's in Washington State. Okay, so looking at this, give me the picture description, Alec.
This shows Mount St. Helens from a distance, realizing a column of
Or
smoke,
releasing.
releasing a clump of smoke from the central part of the volcano.
Okay, so looking at this picture, very beautiful, okay? But I think I want to observe this from a distance. Okay, just admire its beauty from a distance. But I want you today to react to this. Okay, you're going to give me the 3 reactions again. So on the side, 1, 2, and 3, or you can just do 3 bullets. You're going to first off tell me like a description of it, maybe what you already know about it. If I don't know if anyone in here has ever seen this or has read anything about it or has any prior knowledge of it. So anything you already know about it, I'd like you to share in the first bullet. Anything you already know about it. A description of it, the monument, the subject. The second thing is, why do you think it's there, or the purpose of this? And then the third thing, just as people observe it or see it, how do you think they react to it? What's their emotional response to it? So go ahead and write down your responses. Okay, so the first one is describe it and what you already know about it. Just based on that picture and that caption, just those, that's all they give you. So based on the picture and the caption, describe what you think is happening here, what you already know. And then the second thing is why. Why do we have this monument there? And what I mean, it's like an area that's been preserved. Okay, this area has been preserved. And also the last thing is when people see this, how do you think they react to that site? Okay, anyone else have a question just about 1, 2, or 3, what you're writing down here? So the first thing, I'm describing it, what do I already know? Second thing, why do I think this area has been preserved and protected, this land area? And third, how I think maybe people react to it when they see this. So we literally traveled from the East Coast to the West Coast in one slide, didn't we? So we went from the East Coast with Paul Revere in Boston, Massachusetts, all the way over to the West Coast in Washington State. We traveled to Washington State with Castle Rock. Okay, who would like to share what they wrote, just what they think they know about this? Okay, what you already know. Victor, what do you think?
I didn't know much about it, but, so I just kind of made a guess about, is this the volcano, maybe the lava has dug around it, so that's why there's like a little circle of the mountain.
So you think because this area is concave and it might have eroded out through here? Okay. All right.
It was once like a mountain, but then the volcanic part of it blew the top of the mountain off.
Okay, so that's an area that's eroded away in part of the mountain. Okay, because the volcano is resting literally inside the mountain range. Okay, what else you notice or you stated? Okay, it is a United States national monument that includes the region surrounding Mount St. Helens. It is in fact an active volcano. Mount St. Helens last erupted in 1980, causing a great deal of destruction in that area. So it's a beautiful disaster, really. It's beautiful, but it can be a real disaster. The reason for this, what did you say? The reason for this area to be preserved or maybe protected? Where they once had this earthquake back in, or not earthquake, but an eruption back in 1980.
Well, I said it's in the volcano, and the reason why it's preserved is because if it erupts again, they know that it causes
Damage, right? Yeah.
So they try to keep people away from it.
Okay, keeping people away from it. And also, Mount St. Helens is a national volcanic monument created to preserve the mountain and the surrounding land and its natural state. Because they're trying to preserve it the way it is. And they also study it. Okay, researchers, like a team of researchers go in and study it. And it also serves as a reminder of the damage caused by the eruption that happened back in 1980. What are just some potential or possible responses that you think people give it when they see it? Cameron?
Scared.
They might be frightened, they might be scared. Natalie?
Shocked.
Shocked.
I might think it's beautiful.
They might be in awe of its beauty.
Amazing.
Amazement. Wonder. Anyone else? Okay, we're moving on. Okay, class discussion. Question, Braylon?
I have a question about that St. Helens thing. How is that even like really possible? Cause doesn't it have to be warm to start like a fire?
No.
Okay, can erupt from the ground area, and that's underground.
I know, but it seems like it has to be like warmed by it to, that can erupt and stuff.
But it starts at what is the source? Where does it start? Underground. Okay, so at its core, underground, right? Okay, so looking at this, we may not give much thought to the construction of the monuments we see today, but a lot of planning and collaboration or people working together are needed before a monument is built. An artist's design must be accepted, okay, so they have to get approval. Community groups must approve it, and the government must be sure there's enough money to fund it or pay for the construction. So think about, you know, even like our own Mackinac Bridge. You imagine what went into that before that was ever built? So it takes a lot of work to make something happen like this. Further discussion, now that we've discussed the purposes of monuments and landmarks, it's your turn to become virtual tour guides. Look at the photograph of the Alamo Cenotaph Memorial and listen as I read the information. As I read, I want you to think about the purpose that it has served in the past or present, whether it was human-made or naturally occurring, and the emotional response it may cause in others. So we're going on to our very last image, which is right here. This is the Alamo Cenotaph Memorial, and it's located in San Antonio, Texas. So now we're going to the south. Okay, so I want you to take a look at this one, and look at the picture description and read that aloud for us. Victor?
This is a picture of the Alamo Cenotaph
Okay.
Memorial located in Alamo Plaza in San Antonio, Texas. Its rectangular base is made of granite. On top of the base, surrounding the marble shaft of the monument, are carvings of the soldiers who defended the Alamo in 1836. This monument is 60 feet high.
Okay, so now if you look to the right, you have three things here that you'll be responding to, but I want you to listen to some extra information I'm about to give you before you do. So some extra information I have for you is that in San Antonio, Texas, the Alamo Cenotaph memorializes the men who defended the 1836 mission during the Battle of the Alamo. This 60-foot high marble tower is titled the Spirit of Sacrifice. It acts as a landmark of the spot where many brave defenders were laid to rest after the battle. Decorated along the sides of the cenotaph are carvings of the Alamo defenders. A list of the names of the defenders wraps around the monument, including famous men like David Crockett, or Davy Crockett, and Jim Bowie. Visitors from around the world come to the Alamo Cenotaph with a sense of patriotism to honor these past defenders of the United States. So I want you to look at this and now answer the three things on the side. A purpose. What purpose do you think that this serves? Okay, so let's do that. What purpose does the Alamo Cenotaph Memorial serve? How was the purpose achieved? Okay, so let's look at that first one. What purpose does the Alamo Cenotaph Memorial serve, and how was this purpose achieved? Okay, remember the Alamo. Does anyone know what the Alamo was? Does anyone have that background?
Wasn't it? I feel like it was wasn't it like a building or like a fort during?
Like a fort, okay, yes, and you think it was,
wasn't there like okay, there were like guns and stuff in it or something.
that they were
wasn't there?
trying to protect an area, you're saying, like it was almost like a warehouse or a storage area where they may have had weaponry and ammunition and such?
I think.
Okay, all right, anybody else think they know some background of it?
I
well, you've given me some knowledge. Okay, I've also, what I am aware of is that it did involve some Spanish Americans in battle, okay? What else?
What is human-made natural?
Like, what is it?
Okay, human-made means like, was it man-made, built by men as a structure? Or is it just naturally occurring?
So, like, when we like.
So on that second part, I would like you to answer there, is the cenotaph a human-made or a naturally occurring landmark? Do you think that people built us, or was it just naturally there? Okay, and then what is important about its location being in San Antonio, Texas? And then what emotional response does the cenotaph give people when they see it or visit it? And then I will give you some more background information about it, just to kind of help you out with that a little bit. I'll give you some more background on it. Okay, for the first one, what did you say as a purpose? What was your answer? The purpose of the Alamo Memorial. Okay, Gardy?
Was to honor the soldiers that guarded and fought in the Alamo Valley.
Okay, it was to serve the purpose of the, in remembrance of the men who fought and served. Okay, what else? Okay, the main purpose, because I know some of you maybe didn't have a lot of historical background in this or knowledge of this, but it says it serves as a remembrance of the men who defended the 1836 mission during the Battle of the Alamo. The list of names and carvings decorating it are a tribute to the bravery and sacrifices of these men. How about is it human-made or natural? Braylon?
I think it's human-made.
Okay, it is. It's a human-made structure where defenders were laid to rest. It's man-made in that location. Okay, emotional responses. What do you think people have as an emotional response?
Sad and also happy.
Okay, a sadness for the loss, but a happiness for the,
Saving of the fort.
right?